Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Gran Turismo 1. It's time to finally bring back my Gran Turismo Rewind series in which we deep dive into every single title through the Gran Turismo series history, all the way from Gran Turismo 1 all the way up to Gran Turismo 7. We will go into every single playthrough, trying 100% as much as possible each and every single title, and then I'll kind of do some extra videos at the end, things like, my favourite cars from each playthrough, ways to make that extra bit of money, as well as some other kind of hints and tips, as well as having a look at the likes of Easter eggs and secrets as well. So we're going to start off where it originally started back in 1997 with the original title. When it comes to the Gran Turismo series, I honestly feel like Gran Turismo 1 holds up the least in terms of a modern day standard. However, nobody can take away that the fact when this game came out in 1997, it was absolutely groundbreaking, and it's still a remarkable feat even today to think that this game came out way over 25 years ago and had all of these cars, all of these tracks, all on a PlayStation 1. Now obviously I've kind of gone through and I'm running it at 4K in terms of my own gameplay, so it doesn't look quite like it originally did on the old CRT monitors and the old PS1. However, it is still very much kind of reminiscent of what the game realistically could have looked like in terms of how we all remember it. In terms of the game, we are going to be running an unmodified version, so this is going to be exactly how it was way back in the day. And in terms of where we're going to start, we're obviously going to start with getting those gold license tests. We're going to try and 100% this game no matter how long it takes me in terms of getting those gold medals on these, I guess, infamous license tests. I always felt like the original PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 era held some of the hardest possible license tests, and they were always tricky. In fact, I'm going to wholeheartedly admit that I never ever got all gold medals in terms of Gran Turismo 1's license tests. Now the good thing is though, there's only 3 of them this time around, built up of 8 individual license tests each, so a total of 24, which is a lot less than with the likes of Gran Turismo 7, which now features around about 100 license tests, including the normal and the master. So let's get in and start off where it all began back in 1997 with Gran Turismo 1. So here we are at the main home screen. Obviously we're going to focus on simulation mode. That is the main meat of any Gran Turismo title, I guess, apart from the likes of Sport and 7. It's kind of changed in recent days, with arcade mode being completely irrelevant whatsoever. Now in terms of the home screen, we're going to head over and collect our B-Class license. Again, there's only 3 of them in this one, and this is typically the easiest of the bunch. So we're going to go ahead and get all golds for this episode. Let the nostalgia kick in, because here we go, the first ever license test in Gran Turismo history, featuring the Mazda Demio on the start and stopping. I absolutely hate these things. Now because we're going for all gold to collect all the reward prize cars in terms of getting gold medals, a silver or a bronze will not suffice. And considering I'm insanely rusty at this game, this took way longer than I'd like to admit, around about 45 minutes to just get that gold. I was trying every method possible to get the gold, and I'd either end up stopping short or completely overshooting it, and well, in the end I was absolutely raging.
This maze is so hard.
So after 40 minutes straight of attempting this one single license test, I took a couple of minutes to go ahead, make a quick coffee, came back, and all of a sudden the stars had aligned. We got off the line absolutely pinpoint perfect with the Demio, got through the gear changes absolutely sweet, and we would finally go on to get that gold medal. I don't care whatever license test it is, whether that's these super ones with the 1-lap challenges, the tight little hairpin ones where any little mistake will completely bottle the run. For me, the stopping and starting ones are the worst of the bunch. However, once I got it nailed down, I went back and managed to complete it first time, which felt like I just wasted almost an hour of my life. However, we did finally get that gold. However, if you're familiar with Gran Turismo titles, you will know that that won't be it for the stopping and starting. Always for the second one, you'll have a more powerful version of a car. This time we have the Mitsubishi GTO, which at first I thought was going rather quite well, and I thought I was on for a nice sweet gold time, but yeah, it just wasn't meant to be. However, I did manage to gel with the GTO much more than the Demio, whilst it was still a tough one and still took me around about 20 minutes to get a gold in such a basic license test. All of a sudden I started getting used to the game and the memories started coming back, so I thought I'd apply a very cheap tactic I used to use back in the day as a kid to just get the bronze, which involves basically just flinging the car around and hoping it stops in time. It just seems to give you that little bit extra to get the car stopped as quick as possible, and as you can see, cheap tactics, well, it absolutely paid off, managing to get the car stopped just in time to get that gold prize medal. Finally, we could put the pain of stopping and starting licenses behind us. However, next up was turn 1 at Deep Forest, where it loops around on itself and then heads uphill. Now this is a string of the first corner license tests. They all take place on the exact same corner, however each of the 3 vehicles are different. As you can see, we'll start out with the Honda Del Sol, which kind of puts you at ease straight away. However, the final of these 3 versions of tests is just absolutely horrific. So the Del Sol front wheel drive, we did end up going off in our first test, however second time around we would absolutely nail it for gold. So the Honda's quite a little high revver, so that's what we would do. We would massively take advantage of the high revs of this car and the relative ease of driving. Again, the game is just kind of luring you into a false sense of security, which I feel like a lot of the Gran Turismo games do. That if you've kind of got a hard license test to begin with, you'll notice that the game may put something a little bit easy in the middle, and then all of a sudden another large difficulty spike and you'll be absolutely wanting to rip your hair out. So test number 1, the first cornering test, is going to be done and dusted with a relatively easy gold prize. Next up, we're going to be repeating that test for B4, but in a completely different vehicle. This is one of the Nissan Silvias, or the K Silvia Aero. Again, a relatively easier car to drive, but still much more powerful and much quicker than what we saw with the Honda Del Sol, as well as featuring a completely different layout to the car. Again, we're just going to head over towards the curb, run the curb, hit the brakes, get ourselves turned in, and then use a bit of throttle control to pull ourselves back out the corner and get a decent run. Overall, this one again was very easy to get that gold time on. However, it would all kind of end in a bit of a messy situation, once again featuring the Mitsubishi GTO. If this game was meant to advertise Japanese cars to the rest of the world, I certainly wouldn't want to own a Mitsubishi GTO after taking part in these tests. I'm glad to see the back of the car after this one. However, we will try our best to get through it, but this test alone just features a much more powerful car, a car which is much more skittish and much more, I guess, prone to making errors in. In the end, I counted around about 20 retries on this one single license test. It was just awful. However, though, we would manage to get there with the gold medal time. In what felt like one of my scruffier runs, it actually turned out to be my gold medal run. It was certainly not an easy task. Again, over 20 tries of just trying to get this one corner nailed in a GTO. In the end, actually turned out to be relatively embarrassingly easy. However, it didn't feel like the fastest run at all. Whilst we got into the corner quite well, getting out felt relatively slow, but it was still enough to get ourselves up and across the line, finally to get that gold medal for license B5. All of a sudden after that, the game completely settles itself back down to a relatively few easy final tests to get the gold medal in. In terms of the overall tests though, they all feature the high speed ring. We'll have a front wheel drive Mitsubishi FTO, followed by a rear wheel drive Nissan Silvia, and then we'll go on to complete the final B8 license test, which features a full lap of the high speed ring, featuring the Mazda Unos. So overall, this was a very easy ending to what I guess proved to be a much more difficult task than I expected. I honestly forgot just how hard these gold medal license tests actually become in these earlier games. However, for me personally, B6, B7 and B8 would prove to be much more easy. After absolutely smashing it out of the park with the Mitsubishi FDO, it was time to head back to the Silvia K's Aero and tackle the exact same section once again. Obviously a completely different drivetrain layout to this vehicle, and overall still a relatively easy test. In fact, I managed to gold this one first time straight away, which kind of threw me by surprise. So again, the game sort of getting us into that false sense of security for a little bit later on when it comes to the next two license tests, mainly that fourth license test in the next set. In terms of the final license test and the full high-speed ring lap layout, this took me a total of 2 tries. Both were actually successful in their own sense, considering the first time actually gave us the B license and the second time would absolutely give us that gold medal. So we're going to come up and across the line and finally obtain that sweet little B license so we can take part in the other events, getting a silver relatively close to the gold medal time. However, when we went around the second time, we wanted to get that gold medal so we could get that sweet little car prize. Now in terms of GT1, you will only receive prize cars for completing the gold medals on the license test, which is something that's kind of been changed as I guess the game's gone on. They've got much more lenient and much more fairer in terms of what they'll reward you for what you actually do and put in. Thankfully, when it comes to B8, we're putting one of the slowest cars in Gran Turismo 1 on one of the relatively easiest track layouts in the entire game. Whilst the high speed ring has changed over the years, it's a very iconic track, and it will all come flooding back to you as you start flying around in this sweet little Mazda. Again, a relatively powerless car and definitely one of the I guess least useful cars in terms of a 100% playthrough. However, it still is a little tricky when it comes to some of the more I guess heavy braking zones, considering the car may want to step out, but you should be able to control it with relative ease. So we come up and across the line onto the main start finish straight, and we will finally get that last gold medal of the B license test. So there we go, passed it, 118.7, and that is going to give us that very sweet gold prize. So because we got all of the 8 gold medals in terms of the B license, that's going to reward us with our first prize car of our playthrough. As you can see, a little message will pop up saying you have a new car, check your garage. And well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take the game's advice and head over to our garage to see what we've been awarded with. Now the prize cars in terms of the licenses are set in stone. The only thing that can change with some of them is the colour, I believe. However, this one only comes in one colour. This is the Dodge Concept car, 213 horsepower FR drivetrain, and is a relatively useful vehicle. So there we go, that is the end of part 1 of my Gran Turismo 1 playthrough. Let me know if you enjoyed this down below. I'll be going 100% through the entirety of the Gran Turismo series, as well as releasing some special one-off videos in between for things like making money, a few little secrets and Easter eggs kind of scattered throughout the series. I am massively looking forward to bringing Gran Turismo Rewind back. I absolutely loved going back to GT1 all of these years later, and whilst to me it's not my favourite of the bunch, and that will always go to Gran Turismo 2, which will be up next in this series, I still very much enjoyed my time with this game. I cannot wait to bring you more of this content. Don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe, and a big thank you to all of my channel members who are going to pop up on screen right now. That's going to be it from me today. Have a fantastic day wherever you are. I'll see you in the next one. Take care guys. Peace.